To introduce our speakers for the day is Kiwani and Ken Briggs.
Thank you, President Reggie, and Kiwani Rupert Cutler has arranged an outstanding program for us today. Rupert had a conflict. He's at the water conservation meeting out at the Sheridan, but it's my pleasure to introduce this good program. And we do have a heavy Virginia Tech influence at our head table today. Dr. Diane is staff veterinarian for the Southwest Virginia Wildlife Center. She has 3 degrees from Virginia Tech, undergraduate, master's degree, and also is a graduate of the Virginia Tech School of Veterinary Medicine. Sabrina Garvin is the founder and executive director of the Southwest Virginia Wildlife Center. Ms. Garvin is a graduate of Northside High School and achieved a degree in engineering from Virginia Tech. In 1994, she began rehabilitating wildlife as a volunteer. Her volunteer work soon became her life's passion. In the year 2000, she obtained the necessary federal and state permits to open a home-based center, rehabilitating 150 animals in the year 2000. She now manages a freestanding clinic that is one of only 2 licensed wildlife veterinary centers in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Last year, in 2015, her clinic treated 1,257 special patients. Please welcome Dr. Diane and Ms. Sabrina Garvin.
Well, I'm so excited to be here. It's either the iced tea that I drank. It was wonderful because my heart is just beating crazy. But I am so glad to be here. I have a short video, but I thought I'd say a few things. I'm so privileged to be here to tell you about the best kept secret in Roanoke Valley is Southwest Virginia Wildlife Center. We have a wonderful community. We have the symphony. We have arts. We have all sorts of wonderful programs. And we now have a wonderful wildlife center, a veterinary center with an outstanding veterinary team that can take care of injured and orphaned wildlife. This puts Roanoke and the Valley on the leading edge or the forefront for environmental concerns. How many communities can say that they have actually got a wildlife center? And people say, why do you need a wildlife center? Well, you come home and your child has found a bird that's hit a window. You never think about that till it happens to you. Or who takes the injured eagle that's gotten toxins or lead poisoning? Where do you take it? You have to have special permits with the the federal government and the state of Virginia to handle wildlife. And then, of course, the feds take care of all the migratory birds. Veterinarians can take them in, but they can only hold them for 72 hours. They have to turn them over to us. And we have a wonderful team. We have about 25 volunteers this year, along with 4 staff members that take care of the wildlife. We are already busting out at the seams. We were so pleased to move to a freestanding center last year, and we are already full. So hopefully we're getting ready to expand into a nice surgery suite for Dr. D'Orazio. We provide a lot of programs to the public. We go to civic groups, we go to scouts and schools. We want to teach the people what we can do to coexist, because to coexist is to exist. Why? Why is wildlife important? Wildlife is important because it is the forefront and it is a barrier between disease and us. The UN is now talking about one health, one world. It is so important that we allow animals to live in existing habitat and protect what we have left. Without wildlife, we will have disease, all that we cannot prevent. We are actually part of a network where we input data into a national database that is tied into the CDC so they can see emerging diseases. We've got, is it Zika? The disease? Zika coming in. And we understand that may actually hit into the ticks this year here. So we're very concerned. What is that going to do to our wildlife? What is that going to do to us? At this time, I think I'm going to play a little video. and then we'll have some special guests for you. A dog. It's just telling you that please call us if you find an injured animal that's in need. It shows you some animals here that we are taking care of, from the squirrels to groundhogs to possums. A lot of folks consider these nuisance animals, but they are extremely important in our ecosystem. Oh, okay. Here's an owl that we actually got in that had oil all over it. We had to clean it. And this is Clapper, our great horned owl, who is a surrogate right now to a baby great horned owl that we have. That's himself, my husband, Lucky Garvin, if you don't know him. And he's basically explaining how we got started. He decided I needed a hobby. This has turned into a full-time career. People would find me and say, I've got an injured animal that needs help. I just did squirrels. I thought squirrels were precious. Then I realized there was nowhere to take them. We do have a wildlife center that's 2 hours away. It's a hospital. But there was nothing locally with the proper permits. And we've grown from a little place in my basement to a sunroom to now a freestanding center. This room will be totally full within probably 2 weeks with baby birds. We feed every 20 minutes to 30 minutes to 45 minutes to an hour, and by that time baby birds are usually able to eat on their own. And Lucky was my partner for many, many years doing this, and then we recruited Dr. D'Orazio, who has experience. She started actually with eagles on the Chesapeake Bay. This last year, we actually took in 3 eagles. 2 of them were fortunate enough to be released. I don't know if you saw the one that was released at Smith Mountain Lake in September or the end of October. She's back. We actually have tracking on her that we can find out she's back at Smith Mountain Lake, and we're very excited that eagles are moving into our area.
Well, that's a little bit, can everybody hear me? That's a little bit about what we do, but it goes much further. We have some education animals that we have special permits for. These are our ambassadors. We have 2 hawks. We have a hawk and 2 owls. Put it up closer. Is that better? Okay. Not used to using this. And we also have a possum. We have a broad-winged hawk that we've brought today. We'll bring him out in just a few minutes. And all of these animals cannot be released, and that's the only reason that we have them. We don't keep animals just to be able to take out into the public. There has to be a reason that they can no longer make it on their own. But this is Zombie, and Zombie was named Zombie for a unique reason. He came to the Wildlife Center of Virginia, which is a world-renowned veterinary hospital for wildlife in Waynesboro. And he was hit by a car. This is an eastern screech owl. These guys are hit by cars very often. It's probably the #1 reason that they come into our center. They are hunting around the roads. They're attracted to rodents that are attracted to the roads because of trash, as well as the salt that's put down during the winter time. The small animals will be attracted to that. Okay, I've got to put this right in my mouth, sorry. But anyway, so this little guy got hit and broke his wing, and when he went into the Wildlife Center of Virginia, they went to put him under anesthesia so that he could have some x-rays done, and he died. Literally flatline died. And they resuscitated him, and up he came, and they did the surgery, and he died during surgery. That was death #2. And they gave him the necessary medications to revive him, and he popped back up. And then during the recovery period, he died again. So they named him Zombie. Normally we don't name them, but they couldn't help it. And he popped back up again. However, he managed a couple days later to pull the pin that they had successfully placed in his wing out, thereby breaking his wing in 2 additional places. Therefore, he can't fly well enough to feed himself in the wild, and so he came to live with us about 3 years ago as one of our ambassadors. But these are great little animals. A lot of times we'll get calls almost on a daily basis. People will say, "Oh, I've got a baby owl," and we'll go, "Yeah, sure you do." And it's usually one of these because they look very much to the public like great horned owls, and so they'll think that these guys are just baby great horned owls, when in reality this is as big as they get. Sometimes they get a little bit bigger. Most of the raptors, the females are bigger than the males. Nature got it right about that. But this little guy is great. Don't let him fool you, though. He's got a very big attitude. As far as the animals, our education animals, he's probably the toughest one that I have to deal with medically. One of the things when they're in captivity, you have to trim their beaks. In the wild, he'd be rubbing his beak against limbs and eating bones, and he'd be keeping that cut back. So in captivity, we have to trim his beak and trim his talons as well, which he always manages to nail me. Even when Sabrina's got the gloves on and everything, he always manages to either bite me or spear me with his toes. Yeah, she likes it a lot. Anyway, he's a great little animal. He's a real favorite when we go out to schools and to the scout groups. They love seeing these little guys. They're so good at camouflage that during the day they're sitting up in the trees. You never know they're there. They're just sitting very still. And so it's great for folks to get a chance to see these animals because what I find is the kids are, they're used to seeing really cool animals on TV, National Geographic, things like that. But until they see them, looking at them directly in person, that's when the bond is made. And once that bond is created, then they grow up wanting to be good stewards of our wildlife. So that's what I get very excited about, us going out and doing that. Oh, sure. I'll keep walking around. Sabrina, you want to talk about her?
Well, this is the favorite animal of everyone in this room, correct? Well, I'm going to change your minds. I even had to be talked into rehabbing possums because I thought, what do we need possums for? Well, this little girl came in and she was pretty sick. She actually looked pretty bad, and we thought she wasn't going to make it, but we attempt. If we think they have a chance, we're going to work with them. She has what's called metabolic bone disease, and we are here to release viable animals into proper habitat. If they cannot survive, we do not release these animals. So she became an ambassador. Why do we want an ambassador as a possum? Are we having tick problems? We're having Lyme, all sorts of diseases transmitted by ticks. This is nature's tick disposer. She will go around, and because of her light coloring, ticks are attracted to her. She grooms constantly. She can eat thousands of ticks each year of her life. So if you don't want one in your backyard, you're not doing a service to your yard, because these animals will actually help us. And they are nature's garbage disposals. They are out there for a reason. But this is Espresso. Quick reason why she was named: we got a possum in that someone brought in and found on the side of the road, and they had some coffee left in their cup, and they put the possum in the coffee, thinking they were helping it, and brought it to us. And she ended up rooming with that possum, so he was latte and she was espresso. And I think she's going for my hair. Diane, do you want to get the other one out? I think I'm going to be... Oh, she might. Oh, yeah. They have amazing little hands. They have opposable thumbs just like we do. In your kitchen? That would scare me. These, actually, the plain possum comes from them. They actually have an involuntary, let me see if I can let her down. Watch your fingers. She does like it. But if they get scared, they actually have an involuntary response. They actually pass out. They cannot control it. They may be out 20 minutes to an hour, and they actually emit an odor to make animals think that they are okay. I think I goofed Diane. She wants to join.
We never know what she's going to do. It's always. But one of the things we're excited about with having espresso is, they get such a bad rap, and they're just fascinating animals, and they're so, so important to our health because they clean up a lot of dead stuff that would make everybody very sick. They also eat just tons of insects and ticks, and it's a natural way to keep the Lyme's disease down in our community to have these guys around. This is a broad-winged hawk. His name is Hook, Captain Hook, and I'll explain the reason for that. He came to us probably hit by a car turn around, buddy. He is blind in the left eye, and so he's going to watch me with his right. You'll notice also that his wings are kind of scraggly looking on that left side, and that's because hawks have, the way their eyes are positioned in their head, if they lose the vision in one eye, they lose their depth perception. So when he goes in and out of his cage, he is not really aware of where he is in relation on that left side to objects. And so he will bang that wing and break those feathers, and they look kind of ratty. But he came to us, and we believe he was hit by a car. I knew that he had a retinal detachment on that left side. We weren't sure whether, it kind of looked like one that might repair itself enough for him to have some vision. But we sent him up to the Wildlife Center of Virginia where they did a full workup, kept him for a little while and realized it wasn't going to heal and sent him back to us to be an education animal. These smaller varieties of hawks are notorious for hanging out around bird feeders. They love to swoop in and eat songbirds. They'll also eat rodents. And what's unique about the broad-winged hawk is that they will get together in the fall in large groups, sometimes several thousand at a time. They have a term for that. It's called kettles, and there's several places in the country where these large groups of hawks will migrate together en masse all the way to South America, and then they'll come back up in the spring. But he's turning out to be a really good little education animal for us. These small hawks are very spooky and flighty, and so they're hard to tame down. I shouldn't use the word tame because they're never really tame. But he's settled into being a nice education bird. And the reason we named him Captain Hook is that when he came back to us from the Wildlife Center of Virginia, we noticed a very strange thing about him. He's actually growing a talon or a nail out of his chin. He has this little genetic thing that he was born with. We've talked to several raptor centers, and they've never seen it before. So, of course, we had to name him Captain Hook. And I'm hoping you'll be able to see it. It's on his blind side over here. I'm going to walk around and see if you can see it. I do have to trim it. It's like a dew claw on a dog, and it grows in a circle. So about once a month, I'll trim his beak and his claws and his extra little nail in his chin. I'm going to walk around it.
Well, this pretty much wraps us up, but just to give you an idea, we take in about 118 different species in the last year, and each of these animals need different diets. But I want to thank you very much for allowing us to come. We won't charge any extra for my entertainment, so but thank you. It's in southwest Roanoke County off of 221. It's 5985 Coleman Road. And we have a website. We have cards if you're interested. If you want to rescue a possum from your kitchen, we'll give you our card. Thank you again.
Thank you. Memory doesn't recall the last time we had a possum attend a Kiwanis Club meeting, but John Montgomery, our historian, will research and get that date for us. Diane and Sabrina, we want to thank both of you for being with us today. Sabrina, if you'll come up here and accept. In tradition of the Kiwanis Club of Roanoke, we have fabulous parting gifts for our speakers that you won't get if you go to the Bonsack Bison Club or the Fraternal Order of Eagles Lodge over in Eagle Rock. First of all, for each of you, we have the official Kiwanis Club of Roanoke pin, which may or may not work. We also have imitation marble paperweights with the Kiwanis emblem on it for both of you.
I'm excited. This is wonderful. I don't have one.
Okay, they are collector's items, and we're asking people to find alternate uses because we're in a paperless society now, supposedly. And finally, they say there's no such thing as a free lunch, but we're take that different ways here at the Kiwanis Club of Roanoke, and we're inviting both of you to come back to a Kiwanis meeting. Lunch is on us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being with us today. Next week, our speaker is Melanie Couch, talking about Matthew's child. Melanie, looking forward to it. And she will be introduced by Don Witt if he shows up next week. So, if everyone will please stand for the benediction. Having passed through our regular order of business, we are now prepared to leave this time of friendship and fellowship to re-enter the everyday world. Before we depart, let's try and remember three things. First, to extend to every person we encounter the same kindness that we as Kiwanians share with each other. Second, let's be ever vigilant for ways to better serve the elderly, the downtrodden, and the young people of our community. And finally, let's take every opportunity to serve with those with whom we sympathize and deem worthy of our regard. If we can turn these ideals into actions, we will truly begin building a better tomorrow. Live life, laugh loudly, recruit members, and sell K-Pad tickets. This meeting of the Kiwanis Club of Roanoke is now adjourned for the next 167 hours, and we'll reconvene next Wednesday at a few ticks past high noon.